Tell me a little bit about your background and your positive aging philosophy.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Jeff. I so appreciate it. By the way, I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So basically, I had a home-based business for many, many years. I am a mother of two children who are both grown now. And I was involved in that business for many years, up until about 2 years ago. In the interim, I started doing a little bit of voiceover work, sort of as a side hustle. And once the pandemic hit, I started to get more involved in taking acting classes online and doing a lot of voiceover. And I met some wonderful people who introduced me to the world of podcasting. So I started doing that as well. But prior to that, when I was very involved in my business, which was called Esterby Accessories, I learned about social media. I took several master classes and I got myself online and I learned how to understand how it works. I use mostly Facebook and Instagram, and I basically fell in love with it. I loved the concept. I loved the idea. I got to understand how it all worked, and found myself, very in sync with what was going on in social media and always interested in what was new. So that's, basically how this sort of came to be eventually, but that's how it all started.
Yeah, so it started with business, and then it came to, I think this is what put you on the map. I'm going to show the video that went viral. Hope everyone can see it and hear it. Here we go.
I'm 64 years old. Most people expect me to look like this instead of this. Yes, you can look like this at 64. What can I say? I'm 60.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Did it. So literally, I did it spontaneously. I that was on TikTok, guys. So I had a TikTok account. I was using it to promote my voiceover work and my podcasting, and it wasn't really doing very well, and I didn't pay much attention to it. I was very focused on Instagram and Facebook. And I started watching a lot of TikToks just last summer. Call it my guilty pleasure. It was very entertaining. And by the way, guys, it's not all a bunch of Generation Z kids dancing. There's a lot more going on there. And I sort of understood how it worked, in the sense that I saw the videos were very short. I saw that it sort of grabbed you in the beginning and had a surprise ending. And those were the videos that I tended to resonate towards and sometimes even watch a few times. So being fairly new in the acting industry and being the age that I am, I started to feel a lot of frustration, because I felt that I was, you're sort of pigeonholed in either you're young or you're much older. And I guess I didn't seem to fit the mold. I found it very frustrating. I found that there was a lot of ageism. And I came across this filter that ages you. And I thought, well, that'll be cool if I just sort of do this little thing about, this is what people expect me to look like. Because when on my CV, it said 64, I was very open about my age. I always have been. And so they would send me roles or have, want me to send photos, etc. And then I would never get anywhere because of my appearance. So that's what led me to do that video, is that people expect me to look one way, but in fact, I don't look like what people's vision of what a 64-year-old looks like, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I had heard someone say once, my age is not my cage. And that really resonated with me. And I sort of switched it up and started putting the hashtag age is not my cage. I used it for that video, and I've used it for every other video since. And that is precisely how I feel, is that age is not my cage. I wanted to put it out there. It wasn't purposely done in that I wanted to be a crusader. It was just exactly how I felt. I was just being authentic. And it really resonated with people. I remember it was a summer afternoon. It was around 2:00 that I posted it. By 3 o'clock, I had something like 50,000 views. I didn't understand what was happening. Like, oh my goodness. And I kept looking at my phone and I saw that I was getting more and more views. And I realized, like, is this going viral? Is like, what is happening? So that's kind of how it all began. It wasn't purposeful. It wasn't something that I planned. It was just how I felt at the moment. But I did have a background in social media, and I did watch a lot of TikTok videos. So inadvertently, I was sort of picking up what was working. And so I think when you put that all together, it just kind of worked.
Yeah, and plus you had the formula of a surprise ending, so that's something for the people to know. In fact, if people want to type in the chat, if whether you're interested in yourself having your own, social media presence, if you want to get some tips, that'd be really interesting to see who out there is looking for that from our session tonight. So speaking of social media, yeah, I've been to some social media classes. I wouldn't call them mind master classes, but classes. And a lot of these gurus say, go where the audience is. Facebook is where the people, that are in their 50s and 60s are. And TikTok is where all the teenagers are, so don't go there. And what do you think of all the various channels and what some of these so-called gurus are saying?
First of all, TikTok's demographics have changed dramatically. And in fact, the 40 plus demographic is the fastest growing on TikTok right now. I cannot tell you what a huge community there is, specifically 50 plus, to be quite honest. It blew my mind. That is why I grew as a content creator on there. There are other people who are of a similar age, and they talk about all different things. Some people just actually dance, some people just talk, some people, show their family and whatnot. But it is completely wrong, and it's very old school to think that TikTok is for the young teenagers or Generation Z or millennials, or even Gen X. And there's tons of baby boomers, which is actually one of my hashtags that I always use, is baby boomer. And, they might not all be doing content, but there's a lot of people on TikTok even just watching. There's a huge, huge audience on TikTok. Now, it's true about Facebook. I originally started on Facebook, which a lot of people did. There is an older demographic there as well. But your gurus are wrong again, in the sense that they think that it's only, 40 plus on there, because there's a lot of younger people, because there's huge communities on Facebook. So let's say if you're into acting, there's like tons of groups for actors in your specific area. If you're a new mom, there's all these groups. If you have certain chronic conditions, there's all these community groups on Facebook, and it's various ages. So again, they are wrong. In terms of Instagram, they're probably right when it comes to Instagram, in that it is more, not even Gen Z, it is more millennial and Gen X who are into Instagram. But there are older people as well. It is a harder platform to break into, I find. And I feel that it's sort of become stale and not as exciting as, Facebook. And Facebook has brought in Reels, which is like TikTok. And Instagram has brought in Reels, which is like TikTok. So everybody's trying to emulate TikTok. And, I almost used to feel like when I used to say TikTok, that it was a dirty word, that people had this preconceived notion, like, oh, she's talking about those teenagers who are dancing. It's not like that at all. So there is a lot of community there. There's a lot of support, and people are a lot more authentic. That's my belief.
I think I discovered you either in my Facebook feed or my YouTube feed. So I know that somehow you're able to, disseminate through multiple channels. How do you do that?
So it's not like I use one program and then it just disperses my videos everywhere. It's not like that at all. In fact, I just repurpose them. So just to say about my YouTube, there are YouTube shorts where I do repurpose some of the TikTok type videos, but I also have 2 broadcasts/podcasts. So that's what my YouTube is mainly about. For Facebook, I was always doing the type of posts that most people did, just saying, it's my friend's birthday or my, just somewhere I visited. But then they came out with Reels. And I quickly learned that Reels was pretty much what TikTok was all about. At first, I was using the same ones as TikTok with the little logo, and I realized that wasn't correct. So I would put up more original ones there. But basically, the way I do it, I don't do it in app. I create my videos on a separate application, or even just through my video app that I have on my phone, and then I just edit it. And then I disperse it to TikTok, and then I disperse it to Facebook, and I'll also disperse it to Instagram as well. So that's how that happened. I actually just repurpose, each video. So it's not, there's no little dispersing machine involved.
Yeah. And plus I see that you have a really professional looking setup. Is that at home? You have like a home studio?
Yes, this is actually a green screen. And I have a ring light in front of me, and I'm on a laptop. And this is what I use for my podcasting. And I also have this little microphone, which really doesn't work on this Zoom platform, unfortunately. So yeah, that's what this is. Yeah, it's just background that I actually purchased. And it's amazing quality. And that's what I use for Esther's Breeze. So on my YouTube, I have 2 podcasts, Esther's Breeze and Noon Hour Out of the Box, which I co-host with my friend Robert D'Alessio. So yeah.
And what are some important topics that you like to cover? And this is kind of, we'll go into the next clip, but just wanted to start that and then we could segue in.
Yeah, so for the broadcasts, the 2 of them are fairly different. So on Noon Hour Out of the Box, we sometimes just talk about everyday subjects. Like tomorrow we'll be talking about our guilty pleasures. We also talk about more serious stuff as well. We cover a lot of chronic illnesses and other issues that people have. Like we did a show on ADHD, and there was other shows of a similar nature. So sometimes it's off the cuff. Sometimes we have a guest. On Esther's Breeze, which is usually Thursday evenings every other week, I have a guest, and they're usually in the entertainment industry. For the most part, that seems to be my area where I focus. So those are the type of guests that I have on there. And they're distinctly different, but they're both a ton of fun to be part of.
Nice. Just to interrupt with a couple of Q&A questions or comments. One was, I would be interested in the speaker teaching a course in social media. And the other one is, what is the message you're trying to get out? Which I think you've sort of answered a little bit just now, but anything more you want to?
Yeah, well, it's about not having limits because of your chronological age. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. So I'm going to be 65 on Saturday. So what? What does that mean? I can't wear this jean jacket. I can't be on TikTok. I can't go out and have fun like I'm supposed to. Does everything stop now? Because now I'm considered a senior? Not at all. I don't think that it should cage you in, so to speak, that it shouldn't limit you at all. And that was, and I've always been, as they say, young at heart. I never thought much about it until I reached a certain age and felt that I was treated a little differently by the numbers of the years I've been on this earth. And I just found it ridiculous and unfair. And I started to talk about it. That's really where it stems from.
Yeah. Now you actually had someone on Esther's Breeze on YouTube that he's a psychic. He's actually from the New York metro area. Coming of Age is national, but we do have like a big component from New York. And we have a clip now. Well, maybe should I preface it or just play it? Maybe I'll just play. Yeah, maybe I'll just play it.
Yeah, just play it.
He does a reading for you. Let's just say
unexpectedly, yes.
right, let's get that one going.
So, what exactly is a reading and how is it done? I've never done that, so I'm actually curious for myself.
A reading. What's a reading?
Yeah.
All right.
So when you,
All right. Well, I'll try to zero in on you. I'll see what I can do. Let me
uh-oh.
look, let me
That's
look
what I
at my
asked for.
crystal
Uh-oh.
ball. I'm listening to your subconscious, and there's a part of you that says, you know what? I want to be famous, but yet I don't want to be that. Like, I want to be famous, but I don't want to be that kind of famous. But I
Oh
want to
my
be
God,
successful. I don't
hilarious.
want to be that kind of successful. It's like you put a lot of stipulations to what fame is or what success is. And
That's scary. That's scary because I do kind of feel that way. I do kind of want it and then don't want it too much. Just
because
some
you
of
don't want
it.
all the responsibilities and the time and the energy that
Yes,
takes to manifest all of that. And,
possible.
um, you can be a lot more famous if you want to. And I say that for
Okay.
you personally, because you have a look and you have a charisma about you. I'm not saying this to just blow smoke up your ass or put feathers in your cap, but sincerely, you have what it takes to grow a lot more than what you are. And but you second guess yourself. You almost, I don't know why you doubt yourself. It's almost like a worthiness issue. It's like you hit the home runs out of the park, but then when you go back, it's like, I don't know if I could do that again. It's like, rather than feeling confident, just throw me the ball and I'll just keep on hitting them out there for you. But then each time you go up, you think, I hope, but then you just always seem to knock it out. But you get very nervous and anxious just the thought of getting into something rather than assuming it.
Well, that's scary. Thank you for that. I actually I do another podcast with Robert D'Alessio, and it's called Noon Hour Out of the Box. We actually talked about the imposter syndrome, and when I did the research, I completely related to that, and that's exactly what you're saying. So that's touche.
Whoa.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. Okay.
No, and then there's
Yeah.
also something with the front right end of your car, the front right end of the car that's going to need to be taken care of.
The whole car needs to be taken care of. My tire blew about 3 days ago after I dropped off my daughter, and yeah, that car, it's an old car, so yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so I see an issue with the front right side of the
The
car.
front right side.
That's
Okay, you hear that, Fernando? He's my car guy. He's
yeah.
right in front of me. So
I
yeah,
know a
okay.
guy who knows this guy who could
Yeah,
take care
that's
of stuff.
so Christine says, is Edgar Casey right? Is the world ending? Scary times we are living in. All right. What do you think of that?
I'll say that the world has ended as we all knew it, as we once
Yes.
always knew it. So when they say, is the world coming to an end? I don't believe it's physically coming to an end, but it has come to an end as we once knew it.
I agree with you.
Okay.
He was so much fun. And the scary thing is, it was true about the car. I mean, my boyfriend was sitting across from me because he does all the background techie stuff for that particular show. And he was going, yeah, I know about that issue. What issue? Why didn't you tell me about that?
Seriously, Robert. So I'm now trying to.
Oh, sorry about that.
No worries.
Tech issue. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, no, he was right on. He was right on the money.
I'm gonna take the phone away from you.
Uncontrollable. Okay. I cannot control the audio tonight.
That's
I guess the psychic will have something to say about
I
that.
think once you put him on, that's it. So he was right on, not only about my car issue, but he answered questions from the audience. And I was later called by one of the ladies that he had done a reading on, and he was right on. And she called to tell me, she goes, I don't know how he knew this, but I have this issue and I'm dealing with it. And it's like I had to like consult her afterwards. but
Wow.
he's amazingly talented. So that was a lot of fun, and it's doing stuff like that. When I first started doing it, and I told you a little bit about this backstage, I was terrified. You think it didn't come easy to me. I mean, I did a lot of things scared. I had a health issue about a year and a half ago, and I was very fortunate that everything worked out, but it was quite serious. And once I recovered, I decided that I was just going to go out and do all the things I've always wanted to do. And that sort of pushed me to get serious about acting, getting headshots and getting an agent. And then, somebody approached me to do a podcast, and the old Esther would have thought, oh, what are you, crazy, me? But because I had gone through that, I decided that that's it. I was just going to try whatever was thrown at me. I did it scared. And that became one of my other mantras, is do it scared. And it slowly worked out. And I didn't even know that I had that ability to interview, to be on podcasts, to even do public speaking. That was really something I discovered in my 60s. Like, who knew? So that's also an interesting little side note, is how I got into that as well. It was sort of that mindset that put me there. And I think we have lost Jeff. That's okay, he should be back shortly. I'm going to see, guys, if you have any questions or anything in the chat. So someone says, maybe the conflict is about being objectified. Having the experience on social media is about being, and achieving success is more about being objectified. I don't know if I agree with that. Someone else says, what is the message she's trying to get out, which I just spoke about briefly. And the first message from Linda is, I would be interested in the speaker teaching a course in social media. Well, that's something that I might look into doing. So that is quite amazing. I'm hoping that Jeff will be back shortly. So guys, if you have any questions that you want to ask me about how I got into doing what I'm doing, and I have to say that it wasn't just one video that went viral. I had to continuously work at it. And I was very involved in this other audio app called Clubhouse. And Clubhouse was a godsend for me, especially during all the lockdowns that we had. And there was a room there that was called TikTok Masterclass. And it was there that I went and I asked if I could speak on stage. And I asked questions about, oh, good, he's coming back. And I asked questions about, what do I do now? So I went viral. What do I do? What do I do with all this? I know something is happening, but I have to know what to do next. And I have to say that they were extremely helpful. They guided me and basically said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. If you figured out the formula, keep using that formula. Whatever it is you're talking about, that's what's resonating. And you're back.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's a first.
No, that's okay. We were talking about the psychic medium. So he's
Yeah. I wish the psychic were there to predict that. My internet went down and I rebooted. But so it sounds like you were engaging and talking, answering a little Q&A.
I looked at some of the questions, and I also talked a little bit about what happened after I went viral. Like it just didn't stop there. It's not like I sat back and went, okay, now I'm viral. No, I had to go and learn what to do next. I talked about this audio app, Clubhouse, that I went on, and how during all the lockdowns, how it was a godsend for me because I learned so much. I learned about acting and voice work and podcasting. And then when this video went viral, there was a class called TikTok Masterclass. It's every Sunday at 9. And I started through the back channels asking the moderators questions, and then they told me to come on stage, and I told them the story. This is what happened. What do I do now? I have 300,000 views. And they basically said what I just said earlier when you popped off, that they said, well, keep doing what you're doing. Whatever the formula was that you used to go viral, use the exact same formula. So that's exactly what I did. So all my videos are very similar. and the subject matter, but even the appearance is very similar. I'm sort of a talking head. It's from here to here. I have the same banners. I always have the similar hashtags. I always write age is not my cage, 64 years young, which I will be changing as of Saturday. And
Happy birthday.
yeah, so, and I kept it very uniform and very, kept that symmetry, so to speak. And that seemed to work as well. And I also, the formula of 7 to 12 seconds long. And like I said earlier, getting sort of that, that 2-second grab and keeping them with a surprise ending, or sometimes just saying, there's 2 things you should know about turning, 60, or here are 5 reasons why, people shouldn't say this to someone of a certain age. And that's that always works as well. People like that. So.
And so those are like seconds long, like under 15. What about the podcasts? They vary a little bit in time, but.
So originally Noon Hour Out of the Box was supposed to be 15 minutes long. Now the last one we did was an hour, but the original idea was that it was going to be short and sweet, a lunchtime thing, and that was that. We also are on, which I didn't mention earlier, we have a Saturday edition on accessradio.ca, which we do an hour-long version, audio version on this music station. So it's classic rock. So we started to do, that's part of the reason why we started doing it a little longer. And it just sort of evolved that way. Whereas Esther's Breeze was always 45 to 60 minutes long, and it's more structured as well. So yeah, so that it's a totally different animal, but to get people's attention in a 12 to 15 second span is not so easy. People think, well, that's it. Well, people just, they can scroll. They might lose interest after 3 seconds, so they scroll to the next post, So you have to know how to grab people's attention. And the easiest way to know is what grabs your attention. It's the easiest way to figure it out. Like when you scroll, what makes you stop?
And also, what's the lifespan of a post? Because I know that, it's just a feed and it just keeps coming and coming and coming. Like, how do you kind of stay up there or last,
So that's interesting. And if people had the answer to that, we'd all have millions of followers and mega, influencers and make a gazillion dollars. There is no rhyme and reason, especially on TikTok. So TikTok is not chronological. It is not, they don't put it out to just your followers. They have what they call a For You page, FYP, and then they have people that you follow. So basically, TikTok figures out within seconds how the engagement is going to be for your post. So if they see, let's say, the first minute or so that you're already getting views and engagement, because they'll put it out there to what they believe would be your target audience. And if it just doesn't resonate, that's it. It'll slowly get off the For You page. But if they see that there's some traction and there's engagement, they will keep going. And sometimes they go back and take old videos. So there is no lifespan, because sometimes people are still commenting to that one, which I did in mid-August of 2021. So there's no rhyme or reason for that on TikTok. And even Instagram, it's a bit more chronological, but not as much as one would think. They tried to bring it back. It didn't really work. So it's all about the algorithm, which is complicated and sometimes unfair.
Oh yeah, we don't know anything about it. But do you, is your goal to build an audience? Is there a way for people to build an audience? Do you have a way?
So originally, I was not trying to build an audience per se. I was trying to promote my voice work and my podcast. And then I had, like I said earlier, I just had this sort of spontaneous idea and put it out there, and it worked. So when I saw that happening, I felt that, I sort of felt a little bit like I was on a mission, that I was going to take away that stigma of age. And I was going to talk about, that it doesn't matter what your chronological age is, and you could still have fun and still do all the things you want to do and do things scared and try new things, because that's what was happening to me. My life had completely changed. And I was doing all these things I'd never done before. So I decided to talk about it and be authentic about it. So in terms of getting an audience, I believe very strongly in answering every question or every response that someone puts out there. And some of the big, influencers think that, oh, that's exhausting. How could you do that? Sometimes I have, thousands. I think that's very important to interact, because if someone is taking the trouble to respond to something you're saying, they deserve to be answered. And people want to be heard, or even just acknowledge that you're hearing them. So that's my thing. My thing is that I answer everyone. I try to, or I go back and I see who I didn't answer a few days later, and I go back and answer again. And what I discovered, that actually helps the algorithm. The algorithm is seeing that you are engaging, so they're going to bring your post back up to the For You page, right? Even on Instagram, it's going to bring your post back up for other people to see, and especially Facebook. Even if you just put a little response to your post, let's say nobody's responding, and you just write something underneath your post like, wow, this was really a great day, blah, blah, blah. They're going to bring your post up again. So, because that's Facebook is thinking, oh, you're engaging. The algorithm is saying, oh, there's engagement. Let's bring it up again. So that's my recommendation for building an audience.
So there are do's and don'ts, and one of the big do's is actually respond to people when they are responding to what they're seeing on your video, on your channel, on whatever. Are there any don'ts that you have experienced?
I just want to say one other do is also to engage with other people, specifically in your niche, for instance, on TikTok. So if you're interested in aviation and you're putting, like I was telling you the other day about my friend who is very into aviation, he started a TikTok page. So he now follows other people who are into aviation or are pilots or stewardesses or stewards, etc. And he engages with them. And so that's another way. So you engage with the community that you're interested in, and you'd be surprised how that makes a difference. So that's another way as well. I also get, and which I am not thrilled about, is I get private messages, and they can be a little odd and sometimes a little scammy. So you have to be very careful about those type of things. And especially on Instagram, there's a lot of hackers out there. I got hacked in January, and it took me 3 weeks to get my Instagram account back. And it was very innocent. It was a friend who said, hey, I need your help. So I thought, okay, well, geez, they're so nice. They never ask for help. And somehow I ended up clicking on a link, and that was it. They got
wow. Yeah. Oh, I remember that was in one of the Esther's Breeze, I think, or one of the.
Yes, I did. I brought in a cyber security guy, or what he calls himself, an ethical hacker. He actually helped me get my account back.
Wow.
So yeah.
So how much time do you spend per week on getting your guests to come to the show and on putting together the various programs and posts that you do?
It's interesting. So I was actually just working on my podcast today, and I saw that it was taking me about 2 to 3 hours just to do for noon hour. When I do Esther's Breeze, it'll take me maybe about 4 hours. I do it every other week because I do research on the individual. When I started in my first season, I actually used to do pre-interviews. I don't do that anymore, but that was a lot of time as well. And in terms of social media, there are days that I do sort of a batch of videos. So I'll just be inspired, and I just have a lot to say. So I just do like 4 or 5 of them. And there are days that I don't do any. And then there are days that I just do 1 or 2. I did 2 today just because I felt I had to say something. I just wanted to talk about it. But so it's not just making the video. So the video takes, let's say each video takes, I don't know, maybe in the end, when you film it and you post it, I would say it takes about 20 minutes for me, because I have a very simple approach to my videos. They're not heavily edited. They're not, 5 different scenes and you have to, edit and intermesh each scene into the other. So
Yeah.
I'm fortunate in that sense, but it definitely takes time, but it's not a ton of time. Podcasting is different than being a content creator. They're not the same. Podcasting definitely takes more time, the way that I do it, because it's live and it's a broadcast. So you have to be prepared.
Yeah. So some people have an acting background. They have high production values. They have this, they have something, but then other people, they just talk, they don't, they don't know acting, they don't know anything, and they don't use anything glossy or high production, yet they're successful on social media. Are you able to monetize any of this social media success?
So what happened, for instance, on TikTok, I'm in Canada and the rules are different, but if most of your listeners are from the US, for instance, TikTok, you have a creators marketplace and a creator fund. And basically, TikTok will pay you for making content after you get 10,000 followers, and if you have over 100,000 views within 30 days. The amount that they pay you, I'm not quite sure, because we don't have it here in Canada, but it is available in the US and the UK and a few of other European countries. And the marketplaces where brands can come and they can negotiate.
No, seriously, Robert. So
Yeah, that's okay. So to do collaborations, but for my experience, I have been approached by brands through TikTok and through Instagram. It started out with just getting gifted, and I would talk about the product, and I was open to doing it. And more recently, I started getting monetized for doing it as well. So, it wasn't, yeah, it wasn't so much that, oh, now I have more followers. It was more for one company specifically. I had done a video just for the getting the product, and they liked the video so much they came back and said, well, we want you to do 6 more. And that's when I started to negotiate. And I said, okay, well, this is how much I charge. And basically, I literally went on Google and I saw what is the formula of how much you can charge for TikTok, for Instagram, etc. And it's very simple. It's 1% of your followers for TikTok, 4% of your followers on Instagram. So that's basically the formula that I went by. But it's not always so clear cut and so simple. There's also third-party apps that you can use. I actually made a list here of some of them that I use. One of them is called Collaborate. Another one is called #paid. Another one is called Activate Social. And there's a whole bunch of other ones as well that you could just do a search online and find a third-party application or website that you just subscribe to, put your handles of your social media, and brands will go and see your profile, and they can approach you from there as well. So I've gotten some monetization from there as well, but I'm really, in the early stages of all this. There's, so much more that, that I have to learn. And also that in terms of monetizing, that I could eventually, get to earn according to experience and following, and there's an engagement ratio as well. So brands look at all that, and also because of I have a certain niche, so that's who's will approach you, but they do approach you. So that was pretty shocking to me at first. It was like, is it real? It's like getting an email and questioning, doing my due diligence and going on LinkedIn and to see if this person is for real. So at first I was a little taken aback.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to put these in the chat. You can correct it in the chat if that doesn't make any sense. And of course, when they're...
Yeah, so #paid. The other one is called IZEA. That's all it's called, IZEA.
Okay.
That's another one that I use.
Nice. Okay. So I had a question. I had two things to say, and when there's two things, I only remember one. When there's three things, I
Okay.
remember two.
That's
So
fine.
if it comes back to me, I'll say it. But we now have another clip from the Hour Out of the Box show,
New now out of the box. Yeah.
where and I think the topic of the show was cell phone addiction.
Yeah. Not that I have anything to do with that. I don't know what they're talking about.
And it's pretty topical for, since we just come through the pandemic. So here goes.
I'm now trying to regulate my phone use. Yes, I know. I obviously I use it a tremendous amount. I'm so aware of it. I actually make a point now to turn it off for 1 hour a day, and I literally put it under my pillow, like as if I don't know where it is. But I'm thinking, if I put it under my pillow, I just won't think about it, and it's very, very difficult for me.
Well, Esther, I don't know. Somehow, I'm not convinced. Even that phone is off. You find a way to make that phone come on all by itself.
Yeah, I do. And especially during the lockdown, there was a definite increase in COVID use, as we would expect. And right here, I just want to show everyone that, and of course, this is broken into generations. So baby boomers like ourselves had an increase of 43%, Gen X 66, millennials 72 like Brittany, and 82% of Generation Z, which are the 15 to 25-year-olds. So there was a definite increase, which is expected, right?
Yeah,
Where did we put that?
Our beloved Miriam Lopez has just made a comment over here.
Yes.
Would you be so kind to read it for us, Esther?
She says, and I sympathize, Miriam, I hate being so addicted, but I think in the business we are in, we need it. It's our working tool. Yes, I agree. And this is part of the reason why I'm always looking at my messages. I do a lot of voiceover auditions, so I'm always checking my email. Okay. And there's a lot of reason to be, always looking, especially when you're in the industry. So I get it, Miriam.
Esther, how about the ones who take the selfies every hour with the wet look? They're taking 7 consecutive pictures and they're like looking, oh my God, let me go see how many likes I got. What? Only 5 likes? Oh my God, And let's try again an hour later. And they're constantly putting on selfies of themselves, like so self-absorbed. Hey, get real,
Yeah.
Get to the real life. Put your phone away. Go out. Go for a walk.
You're absolutely right.
And not only should you go for a walk, you should also tune into. Is it what I think it is? Do you hear the same thing I'm hearing?
Wait a minute. Yes.
You hear it?
Yeah. Here it comes.
Do something
Jenny's
about it.
phone facts.
Yeah.
Fun phone facts or facts about the phone. Jenny's phone facts.
We can do it done, so let me go. Bra, 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 bra. Now you go blah, 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 blah. But that is no, 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 no. Just come over, no, 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 no. Just doing no.
Do you feel like you are going 100 miles an hour, like when you are two-fisting popcorn into your cheeks, and you have no control over your two hands like they have a mind of their own? Do you feel like you are bored with social media, but the first thing you do when you barely have one eye open is to hit the Facebook button because you have to say happy birthday to the guy that you may have met 5 years ago, and he is still your friend on your feed?
That is so funny.
Ah.
That's Jenny Duhame. She's our producer. She's brilliant. That was a fun episode. And so true. That is so true. And I joked about, I used to think about, like, what if I had the phone implanted in my arm, And yeah, it's the addiction is there for sure.
Oh, that sounds really good. So I do have a treat for everyone. But let's see if there's a Q&A. We're going to open it up, open the floor for questions. So if anyone wants to put a question in the chat, we're ready for you, or in the Q&A. So hang on a little bit. I'll see if I could come up with some filler questions or killer questions. So you might have briefly touched on it, the pandemic is really when things started happening for you on social media. It wasn't before. I mean, you did have a social media presence for your business beforehand, but this actually started like in 2020 or 2021.
I had Facebook, I had Instagram, I did not have TikTok. I think that what happened was that there was just a lot of people were online. Everybody was online. You know, there's this app that I spoke about earlier when you popped out, the way I talked about this audio app called Clubhouse. That was huge, and I was very involved in that. And that came out of the fact that we were all in lockdown, and there was a great place for people to just congregate and speak, because it was an audio app. We were able to go in rooms and talk. I think that people were online a lot more. I believe the explosion of TikTok was directly related to the fact that we were in lockdown, that we were going through this for the last 2 years. There's a definite increase, like we saw in that chart from that podcast, in the use of cell phones. So when they say, we are using the cell phone, it's not just we're just, calling our best friend or mom. We were on social platforms as well. So that increase totally correlated with the increase of use in social media platforms. And that's what happened. And there were a lot of people who became breakout stars on TikTok, or, really built up their Instagram because of the pandemic, interestingly enough. So there was that side to it. And absolutely, it made a huge difference. I don't even think I would have thought of going on TikTok. I wouldn't even have thought of having a podcast. I met my mentor, Robert D'Alessio, and my producer in a class online, an acting class. So, and I would never have been in an acting class online had it not been for the lockdowns. So it's all, yes, absolutely, definitely related.
Yeah. So everything kind of synchronized for you in this regard.
100%.
I know people that won't touch a cell phone, that don't want to go on the computer, that that are just totally phobic about their privacy and, being hacked and all that. What can you say to people that are afraid to go on social media?
I understand their concerns. Like I said earlier, I was in fact hacked. You have to know how to do it properly. And so there's this, on each app they have, I think it's called dual authentication or double authentication. This way people cannot break into your platform. They cannot get your information. It is like a two-tiered security for yourself. So if you don't remember your password, you will need a code sent to your phone or to your email. I mean, there are ways to get around that. You don't have to put out information if you don't want to. It's all, what you're comfortable with. If you don't want to put your full name, you can use a different name. A lot of people just have, Cat Lady 22, that's as a handle, for instance, and we don't even know their real name. So there are ways to get around it. I feel that they've become so much more sophisticated now, that you can feel more assured that your information is safe. So yeah, I would suggest it. I know a lot of people who do feel that way, but but more and more of them are getting online because they're starting to realize, okay, there's more protection now. There's this, I think it's called dual authentication out there. There's a lot more ways to be protected, and I don't even have to reveal my name. I could even put my profile private if I want, just for my friends to see. There's all different options you can use. I was always very open because I was selling fashion accessories. So I had a store, I was doing pop-up sales, and I was doing it online. So I was out there. But I know a lot of people who just do it for fun. They keep their profiles private. You can do it on any platform. So I don't think there's anything to worry about in that regard.
Yeah, and I would say the whole reason it's called social media, it's because it's social. So
exactly.
engaging. We are, we do want to speak to somebody writes us a question. We want to answer them, and I loved the advice that you gave earlier that if you're in a particular niche that you are interested in having a social media presence for, follow the people and engage the people that are in that same niche. And my special surprise that I was going to put in the chat, if people asked questions, I accidentally hit the send button, so it's there. And so if you want to follow Esther or ask her questions, you can engage with her in any of these channels right here.
100%.
Yeah, and
Oh, thank you, Teresa. Oh my goodness, my good friend Teresa is there.
yeah, and for those watching view our YouTube channel later, she said Esther is amazing.
Oh, stop. She's amazing. She's a incredible actor, filmmaker, director. She's so talented. And she's my mentor for the acting side of things.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting about mentors. Now I'm a little scared.
Why?
I need a mentor. Does everyone need a mentor?
No, you don't need to have a mentor about it, but it doesn't hurt. Yeah, it just works out that way. Just somebody you admire, someone you look up to, whose opinion you value, and when you need advice, you know who to go to, and you know that they'll give you an answer that's smart, grounded, and organic. So that's what a mentor is to me.
Yeah, and Robert, who we actually saw in the last clip. So, did he advise you on, what kind of equipment you'll need, what kind of, what kinds of questions would you have for him that we should ask our mentor?
So basically, he set me up, told me exactly what to do from a technical standpoint. He suggested which program to use, what microphone. I actually ended up really just having this at home because my son is a singer-songwriter, so this was actually one of his microphones. But in terms of the technical side of things, no, he was great. And even how to find guests, how to interview, what's the sort of pre-interview type of questions to ask, how to set up your studio. I mean, he taught me all of that. I knew nothing. So I'm so thankful to him for all that he taught me. And he literally gave me 24 hours to do it all. He said, that's it, you're starting your podcast tomorrow, and set up a YouTube channel, and I'm going to make an announcement on Facebook. And that was it. I had no choice. So
well, I would think for you and probably for everyone, even though I can't make any rash judgments or anything, that the first few are a little rough around the edges, and then as you go on, it gets a little better.
100%. In fact, in the beginning, Robert was co-hosting with me, Esther's Breeze, sort of as kind of to babysit me and to just sort of, just sort of be there. It was important for me. And actually, I interviewed Teresa Pucciano, who's she was amongst the first. Exactly, that's what she's writing. And but with her, we were kind of close already to start with. It went really well, but I did need Robert there. I still felt that I needed his presence and his guidance, but over time, you just, you learn. And, like I said earlier, I was doing it scared. I was always doing it scared. But it also depends on your guest as well. Like Teresa was very easy to chat with, and we just had a great rapport with each other. So that was a really, really great show. You should check it out. Teresa Pucciano on Esther's Breeze. Great interview.
Yeah, I'm going back to look at that. Yeah, and definitely going back, looking at past podcasts that you've done might actually inform me or inform Coming of Age or inform the people in our audience how they might work on their own podcast or presence. Do you also blog? I should have asked you this before we got on.
Actually, I don't blog. I set one up many, many years ago when I had Esther B Accessories, and I really didn't do much with it. I never quite understood blogging. So no, I don't blog, but I feel, I sort of do audio visual blogging now because I do it daily, and it's pretty much, where I talk about what's on my mind and what's important to me. So in a sense, it's a type of blog as well.
I think that's called a vlog with a V.
Yeah, they call that a vlog. Yeah, well, that's what it is. Really, those posts are kind of vlogs.
Yeah, and blogs, for those not in the know, I guess it's more sort of like your journal or your diary, but you put out a page like on a regular basis, however much that might be. So
yeah, exactly.
And that's also another way to build an audience, I would think.
And Teresa's writing, and you are perfect at it. I don't see you blogging. Thank you, Teresa. I don't see myself blogging either.
Yeah. So going once, going twice for questions from the audience. Anything that you want to ask Esther about her experience, about her channel, about social media, about TikTok. You seem to be the spokesperson. I don't want to say that, but yeah, you're the poster child for TikTok, I would say. Yeah.
For TikTok over a certain age, yes. In a way, kind of, yeah. Proof that you don't need to be, a member of another generation in order to find success and find a community there. So absolutely, if I'm going to be the poster child, I'm all for it. And I love the word child, by the way. So
I think I remember the number 2 question that I want to ask, actually.
Sure.
When it came to that. So when it slipped me again. Wait, hang on. It was about, well, this is what happens when you turn 60, at least to me. I remember now, TikTok, it's sort of burgeoning for the people that are 40 and up.
Yes.
It's starting to burgeon, but because you got in when you did, you were like a big fish in a small pond. But it's still like a small pond, so there's a lot of opportunity still. Would you say, or is the pond already?
There's a ton of opportunity, because even though they have billions of users, a large majority are not content creators. So they literally have no content. They're just there as viewers. So it's very different from any other platform where if you're, if you're there, 95% of them have content on there, or there to create content. It's not like that on TikTok. So there's a lot of opportunity in that. So don't be taken aback by the amount of users that it has, because in fact, a lot of those users are just there to view, to learn, to watch, to interact with you. They have no interest in creating content themselves. So that's a huge potential audience.